Good morning, Grandview. Pastor Andrew here. Do you believe in prayer? Now, I know that sounds like a ridiculous question. If you're a believer and you're listening to me, you would say, of course, I believe in prayer. Yes. Well, I also believe in prayer. I truly do. Let me give you an example of a prayer I began to pray many years ago. This is the prayer of how my family and I came to Grandview and eventually to Waterloo. It was May 2018, and Deanna and I were having a serious conversation about our future, specifically our kids' future. As many of you know, we adopted both of our children, and they were diagnosed with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, which meant that because of the alcohol in their mother's womb, they had brain damage. See, the conversation was specifically about getting all the support we can get for them in school. Unfortunately, where we were living and where they attended school, there was very little support for them. You see, Faith was in grade 4, and in September 2019, she was going into grade 6, which would mean we would be starting all over again with a new school to get her the support and the help she needed in a region that didn't even give financial support. So I asked Deanne, where do we need to live in order to get the best support we can for our kids? Well, she did some research in advance, of course, and came up with 5 regions. We narrowed it down to one region, which you know is the Waterloo region. So now I had a region I needed to find a job in, so I contacted the fellowship and set up a meeting with the guy who helps pastors find jobs. I sat down with him and explained our whole situation and told him I was looking for a specific job in a specific region, of course, the Waterloo region. He sat there with this surprised look on his face. He had only been in his role for a few weeks himself. I was asking him for the impossible. And unlike most pastors looking for a job, I was very specific about where I wanted to work. Unfortunately, he told me there was no churches currently looking for an associate pastor in the KW area. I told him that's okay because we have until September 2019, because that's when my daughter is going into grade 6. I thanked him, and then I began to pray. I prayed for a miracle. Actually, I prayed for 2 miracles, and I continued to pray. Now, unbeknownst to me, God had a plan. Of course, He did, but I didn't know about it. At Grandview, Pastor Bob and the elders were looking to hire an associate pastor, but had not told anyone, not even the fellowship. So the word wasn't out. But in late June 2018, Pastor Bob got a hold of my profile and emailed me. Of course, after receiving his email, I contacted him right away. After a phone call with Pastor Bob, an interview with Pastor Bob and Bob Howard, a phone interview with Stan Fowler, and a final interview with the whole elders board, an offer was extended to me. The day I signed the offer was exactly 14 days after the first phone call with Pastor Bob. Now, you need to know that never happens. I've been in interviews with churches sometimes as long as 2 months in the past. And not on September 2019, but on September 2018, I started my first day at Grandview. Prayer number 1 answered early. The second prayer I had was for our children to get the best support in the best school in KW. By the way, we had no idea where that was, but we were praying. And after we started the house search with Lori Keys, we started to realize there weren't many houses near the church, which was our first choice. I always wanted to walk to church from my home. Finally, after a number of months, we finally opened up our search to include Waterloo. As soon as we did that, a house in North Waterloo came available. We went through it and we loved it. So we put an offer in. Unfortunately, it wasn't accepted. So we continued to search. Only a week later, Lori called us and told us that the house we were interested in, the owners just called to see if we were still interested and to put in our best offer. Because unfortunately, the couple who they accepted the offer from were having financial issues. So we put in the exact same offer, except that we removed the house inspection. And the offer was accepted without exception. Now, here's the best part. There was a school only 4 minutes away, but we had no idea what kind of school it was. If we were going to get support for the kids or not. But we had a school and we were thankful. Deanne reached out to the school and set up an appointment with the school to see what support we could get for the kids. We met with the principal and two special ed directors, and we were blown away that they had already put together a plan to support our kids with their specific special needs. The truth is, we didn't know how amazing the support was going to be until we had our very first parent-teacher interview. Both Faith and Sean's teachers were amazed and really understood what the support our kids both needed. As parents, we were overjoyed to hear that both of our kids were receiving special one-on-one support from their very own EA. I found out later on that this school that God had found for our kids was one of the best schools in KW area for children with FASD. Prayer number 2 answered. Now I tell you that story because I want to give the glory all to God, to my Heavenly Father. This is a God story, and He's the only one who should be receiving praise for this amazing story. Now, would I still believe in prayer if God had not answered my prayer? The answer is still yes. And there have been many prayers in the past where He chose, for whatever reason, not to answer. But I trust Him, no matter what, because He is my Heavenly Father, and He knows what's best for me and my family. And it's because I believe in prayer that I want you to take a look at this passage of Scripture with me. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 1 to 4. Let's read it together. I urge then, first of all, that petitions, prayers, intercession, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and all those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. This is good and pleases God our Savior, who wants all people to be saved and come to a knowledge of truth. Look at verse 1. Paul breaks down different ways we can pray. First, he uses the word petitions. This is just another way of saying specific requests for ourselves or for others. Then he uses this general word for prayers, and this simply means talking to God. The third way he mentions is intercession. This is prayers for others on their behalf, and Paul says we need to be praying for our kings and all those in authority. And the last way he mentions is thanksgiving. This is just simply showing gratitude to God for what He has done. It's interesting who Paul says we should pray for. Look at it. In verse 1, he says, all people. This is everyone. Everyone you know, everyone you don't know. You need to be praying for everyone. But Paul gets very specific in verse 2. And he says we need to be praying for people in authority. Notice he uses the word kings. You might not have a king in your life, but do you have a boss? You have a teacher? You have the prime minister? You have the premier? You have police? You have all kinds of people who have authority over you. Paul says we need to pray for them. And then in verses 2 and 3, Paul says the ultimate reason I want you to pray for those people in authority and everyone is so that the gospel might freely penetrate the society we live in, so that we may be able to live a life of peace and quiet in all godliness and holiness. In other words, what he's saying is we need to have a good reputation in the world we live in, so the world will see our character, our godly and holy character as Christians, and the gospel will be proclaimed. So we need to pray. Verse 4 gives us the ultimate reason why we should pray. Because God is pleased with these prayers. He's pleased with these prayers for everyone, and especially for those people in authority over us. Because ultimately, God wants to see everyone saved. And if our government officials are saved, then we will have a peaceful and quiet life. See, this devotional is a bit different than most of the ones that I've done in the past, because I'm going to stop talking in just a few minutes, And I want to give you a chance to take the next few minutes to pray. I'll give you some prompts, and then I will let you pray. My first prompt is, Paul says we need to pray for those in authority over us. Who do you have in authority over you? Do you have a boss, a manager, a teacher, someone you report to that you can pray for? First, pray for their salvation. Pray that God will use them in mighty ways as they use their authority. And thank God for them. Maybe even ask them for a prayer request. Prompt number 2, pray for those who govern us. This time, pray for our Prime Minister. Pray for our Premier. Pray specifically for both of them as they lead us during this pandemic. Ask for wisdom for them, because like us, they've never faced such a crisis. Pray for our police, pray for our firemen, pray for anyone who's leading us during this pandemic that are in authority over us. Pray for their safety and thank God for them. Then last prompt is pray for our church family. I'm sure you already know this, but there's recently been a lot of people who have lost their jobs. Or they've been working for a company that's gone under. Or they're working in an environment that's unsafe because of the virus. We need to pray for them. Many of the people in our church have their own business. Or they work for a small business that either have lost everything or they have to continue to work so they won't lose their own business. Pray for them. Now, I know there's all kinds of other things you can pray for, and I'm going to give you a moment in just a second to pray. But before I do, I want to invite you to our next prayer gathering, which is this Monday, June the 1st at 7 p.m. If you're interested, please email Pastor Jacob, and he will send you a link so you can join us at our next prayer gathering. Grandview family, thank you for this opportunity to be sharing with you. I want you to know that the staff at Grandview love you and we're praying for you. And we can't wait to see you in person. I hope you have a wonderful week. God bless.